Just can't do it.
This is here.
Right. Hi, folks. Good morning. Good morning. We got an early crew today. That's good. Congratulations, everybody. Good seeing everybody. Maia, so we got Dr. Abdullah in Saudi Arabia who comes on every show. I love that. Sidar, who's in San Francisco, just down the road from you. I know Veronica's in Atlanta. You got folks, journalists from Nigeria. If I've got this right, Corey in Corey, where are you? You're in Louisiana. Ruston, Louisiana. Ruston, Louisiana. Hey, everybody, tell us where you're from. Man, we got a lot of people on the show today. Maia, you are incredibly popular, and your background is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. This is actually, I'm actually not in San Francisco for these strange quarantine times. I'm actually in rural Washington State.
Oh, seriously? Mm-hmm. Well, it looks, I should have known that because there's no way that could be an apartment or a house in San Francisco because I can actually see more than 5 feet. I should have guessed that. Yeah.
Right, you're not actively sitting on my bed.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, I love this. We got folks from Pakistan in, the UK, Scotland, good Lord. And then Brian Clagett. We're just going to ignore Brian, who's probably at his lake house in Virginia or something silly like that. Wow, Paris, France. All right. You drew the international audience today. So with that, folks, let's dive right in. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 26th episode of FinTech Insider, the Breakfast Show US. I'm Sam Maul, 11FS Managing Director, North America. I'll be your host for this morning's show. Do let us know where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Share the link. Please click on that little share button. It'll go on LinkedIn Live. Share it with your friends on Twitter. Put it on Facebook. Call your mom and dad. Just up my numbers. That's all I care about. I'm going to be blunt. And don't forget, this week we've been running a contest for the best question during the live show. We'll be giving one winner per show an exclusive Breakfast Show t-shirt. I don't even have one of those. I'd like to get the merch. If you're based in the UK or the US, I'm sorry, everybody else, I didn't make the rules. All you need to do is put a question in the chat for us to answer. And at the end of the week, David Brer, our CEO, and I will choose the best ones to get a free shirt. Winners will be announced during the stream on Monday next week, and terms and conditions apply. This is actually the last show for this week, as tomorrow's a UK holiday. I plan on taking tomorrow off. Screw it. I suggest y'all do too. Today, we're very happy to be joined by the one and only Maia Bittner, Head of Business Operations at Chime. Today, we're going to talk about her background as an entrepreneur, how Chime can help its customers live their financial, healthy lives. And before we even do that, though, I want to jump into some slightly breaking news for everybody, just to level set how life is in the U.S. right now. Latest unemployment numbers were released this morning. An additional 3.169 million Americans were added to the unemployment rolls this week. That brings the official total to 33 million. We know there's more than that. To give you some context, that's more than the population of Texas. Always got to use Texas as a reference. And in another story reflecting the impact of COVID-19 on the U.S., the New York City subway system was closed overnight for deep cleaning. That's the first time it's been closed since 1904. How'd you like that for an introduction, Maia? We just went all over the world for that one.
Ugh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
not the best
interesting.
News.
Yeah. You have? Don't you have a place in New York?
I do. Would you like to sublet
it? Yes, because let me explain why, Maia. So for everybody watching this, let's go ahead and get out of the way. Why do you hate cooking so much? What's the issue with cooking?
Okay, there's so many issues with cooking. So there's so many. So first of all, it's quite difficult. It's like a lot of work physically. I mean, I had the other day, it was like cube 2 pounds of yams. Like the knife, I don't know. Yams are very hard. I was sweating over there cutting yams. It makes my kitchen disgusting. I get disgusting. It takes forever. And then at the end of this whole process, which takes an unknown but long amount of time, it's exhausting, it's gross. You get a bunch of food that doesn't taste that good.
So that is my point on why I want to sublet your apartment in New York, because I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I've said this multiple times on the show. Very nice place to live, great beaches, food. I am dying for some real food. Right, New York. That's why I like to travel. San Francisco, New York, Chicago, London, Paris. Get some real food, not Applebee's. every flipping weekend. All right, for those that don't know, and I'm assuming by the sheer volume of people that have dialed in, they do know about Chime, but let's talk about Chime, America's sweetheart. I'm going to say that right now when it comes to challenger banks, when it comes to fintech. Chime has been on a roll. Can you explain what Chime is and what your mission is?
Sure. So at Chime, we're trying to help our members live financially healthy lives. We've done that today. Our flagship product is we're a challenger bank. So we have a checking account and a savings account with a debit card, and then a couple marquee features. So we started with get paid up 2 days early. We have Spot Me, which is our free overdraft coverage. And then we have a couple other kind of marquee features in the works. And we've take the approach of really designing our products around our consumers' actual needs. And so it's been resonating really strongly, and that's led to some explosive growth, which is why you see Chime in all the headlines.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that explosive growth, if you don't mind. So I actually watched an interview that FT Partners did last week. It was with Chris Britt, your CEO, and had the CEO of Revolut on. It was actually really, really good. I love FT Partners. Good shout out to Steve and the team over there. Chris quoted that you're over 8 million customers now.
Yeah, we have over 8 million accounts. I think that's the last public number.
That's the last public number. You want to give a private number? Come on, let's do that.
You
Come
know,
on.
I don't think this is really the forum for a private number.
Dang it. 8 million is outstanding. Over 8 million accounts is great growth. That puts you, north of challenger banks we talked about, like Monzo, for example, which again, another great product in the UK. They have an office now in LA and are pursuing a US banking charter. What do you think has actually accelerated that growth? What is it about Chime that the message is resonating with people?
Yeah, I think that we're really striking a nerve, right? It's like we're really meeting people where they're at. I think, and here's what I really think. I think it's the flashy features that get people to sign up for Chime. So it's stuff like people want to get their payday 2 days early, right? They need to have that flexibility with having access to funds. But why they stay with us is they stay with us because we treat them right. We have no fees, and they have a ton of transparency and control around their money and where it goes. And so I think that's why we see such great retention numbers.
Yeah, and I think retention numbers are extremely high, right? Because as a cynic, not that I'm a cynic, but I'll speak for cynics, they would say, yeah, don't tell me how many app downloads you have, or how many accounts you have, how many active users do you have? Meaning folks coming in, more than just once a month, right? Because that means they're having a real relationship with you. And, Chris did share that, your active accounts are your users use the damn product. I think that's the right way to put it.
We're their primary bank account, and we measure that in a couple of different ways, but we're not a secondary account. I think, honestly, our customer base is not in San Francisco. They're not as much in Manhattan. They're not really a part of the tech scene. And so sometimes people in the tech scene say, oh, maybe I should get a Chime account to use as like a budgeting way or a secondary account or just for bills or something like that. It's not our core customer. Like they're doing all their spending on their Chime account and they're depositing their whole paycheck there.
So again, folks that are on, smack the like button, share this thing. I already told you to call your mom and dad. All right. Now you can call your sister, your brother, your neighbors. At this point, I don't care. Let everybody know about this and throw some questions in. Actually, a good question already from Sid Rahar. Chime's nearest competitor in the U.S. appears to be Varo. We had Colin on last week. I believe it was last week, talking about Varo. The question he has, Varo actually has gone through and pursued a banking license. So the fact that you don't have a banking license, right? And this topic comes up a bunch. How big of an issue do you think that is?
So there's a lot of different opinions on this. Frankly, I think what a banking license would do for us is it would make our economics a little bit more attractive as a business, right? Because the more you can verticalize and own your own stack, the better of a business it is. And that's part of the reason that we don't have a banking license right now is we've been really focused on providing value to our customers. And it doesn't really, right? It doesn't really do that. It's whether you have your own banking license or we work with a couple different partner banks, you're subject to the same regulation, and the regulation is really the limitation here.
Yeah. And again, I would say, as somebody who, I'm not going to call myself a skeptic, right? But I mean, I'm in the industry, so I watched as Chime came up, and I've made comments before. At some point they're going to have to go after a banking license. I'll say this much, man: the customer acquisition you've been able to do, and the continued goodwill that you have with your customers, because you see this in the scores that you guys get, you see this in the app reviews and everything else. It's an excellent product, and I'll tell you, when one of the things y'all did that I thought was fantastic. And actually, this is a comment that's out there. Amira, I'm sorry, I know I'm slaughtering your name, but you said one of the reasons I love Chime is the social media presence you guys have. You put out the best, easily digestible, creative content. It's a nice compliment for a bank.
Our social media is, I'm with you. I'm not involved in that at all. And I look at these memes and I'm like, this is so cool. It's the only company, I feel like whenever you work for a company, you kind of have to follow them on Twitter and Instagram. But Chime is the only company I think where I would follow them regardless, because it's funny, it's relevant. I actually have, so the screensaver on my computer is just Chime Instagram posts.
Oh, really?
Because they're like cute and funny, and they have like mottos, and they're relevant. So yeah, that every time my computer goes to sleep, I see all these Chime Instagram posts go by.
So we've got another ginger-haired listener, Simon Taylor. Oh my God, Simon Taylor from 11FS. Folks, if you could see Simon Taylor's COVID hair, it is the most frightening thing. Simon has only been wearing hats in every meeting we have now. I probably should, but Simon, you're rocking the ginger massive hairdo right now. He asked a good question. Who's the core Chime customer, and what problem does Chime solve for them that others can't? And I'll add to that. You already said this early on. Your customer base isn't just located in San Francisco. It goes coast to coast, right?
Yep, coast to coast, the whole country. It's really average Americans. So the way that we define them are people who live paycheck to paycheck, right? So our core customer base is running out of money.
Every American, by the way, pretty much paycheck to paycheck, the vast majority.
So it's certainly spans many incomes. But the reason we've defined that, right, is it helps us figure out what products we need to build to serve them the best. And that's why we have 2 days early and Spot Me. It's like, these are the types of products that you need if you might be at risk of running out of money before payday and you need to buy gas, you need to buy groceries. There's a whole bunch of financial products that we could offer. We could offer a robo-advisor, and I think that those are great, but it's not a hair on fire need for our core customer base right now.
So one of the things y'all did, and everyone watching this, take this in the right light when I say this, but one of the things that I like that Chime did was very early on when we started doing the shutdowns in the US is you made an announcement of using your Spot Me feature that you had talked about for your customer base in response to COVID. And I was shocked that you're like one of the only banks or challenger banks to kind of get in front of messaging for this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, me too. I'm also shocked. I feel like we have such a relevant, intimate relationship with our customers. We're right there. We're right where their spending is. And so, yeah, we just, honestly, there was a huge effort by the team to move as fast as possible to make that happen. We got to leverage our existing Spot Me feature, and we did a couple of different things. So the first thing we did is we chose a selection of people and we gave them $1,200 in Spot Me in advance. I think about a week or two before the stimulus checks hit. So we heard about the stimulus and we were like, this is great. The Fed is going to try and make it happen. We can make it happen faster than the Fed can. And I know that the speed of getting the money into people's hands, that's what really matters. And there's been some with the stimulus checks, there's been some conversation about they're going to the right people. There's some people that get it that don't need it. What about, we have these foreign workers? There's a lot of questions about eligibility. And I think the Fed made the right call that the only things that matters is getting the money out there as fast as possible. And so we're just on that same train and trying to speed that up as fast as possible. So first thing we did is we gave a group of customers $1,200 in Spot Me so they could overdraw their account on their card spend by up to $1,200. The second thing we did is we gave 100,000 people an extra $200 in SpotMe. And then when the checks did start getting sent, we posted the checks first, about 5 days before the other banks did. So we posted the checks on Friday. Most other banks were posting them the next Wednesday.
Again, just the fact that y'all got ahead of it just sounds so callous, and I don't mean it that way, but how you got ahead of the story. I mean, you guys owned the storyline, and I kept waiting for somebody else to step up, you know?
Yeah, I'm still waiting.
I know. It is just, to me, such a massive missed opportunity to, to create goodwill with your customers. You know what I mean? And I was very surprised by that. I have a good question from Gene Donnelly, executive director at the FinTech Sandbox. And I'm going to add a comment right after this. Because Chime faces more scrutiny due to your success, haters going to hate. I just wanted to read it to say that. Haters going to hate. After the outage last year, what were the learnings and what did you attribute the recovery to? And how did you correct the infrastructure? And let me add that it is amazing how often are the outages that very large banks, and I'm looking right at you in the UK, but also here in the US, that banks do have on their systems. But I can see the scrutiny that we're putting on the newer players that are coming in. So you want to comment on that, Maya?
Yeah, so Chime had an outage in October. And you're totally correct, Sam. Like, I think the next week, Capital One had an outage. Like, it happens fairly regularly. And it was really devastating. And I think, and the whole team, right, was working 24 hours a day. And when you look on social media, there's a lot of people that say, like, Chime is the worst bank in the world, and I hate these guys, and this is the death of Chime, and something like that. And so we were really scared. And I can speak to the numbers and things like that, but just first, one of the projects that I did is I said, I was part of a team. I was led by my colleague, Michael Ducker, and we said, we're going to call up some Chime customers. We're going to call up our core customers who are depositing their payrolls, and just a bunch of them, and we're just going to let them talk about how this affected them. We're going to apologize. We're going to make sure they're on the right. And so, and I'm kind of scared, right? I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on the phone with our customers. We're in the wrong here. We were out. So I'm a little nervous going, right? Call people up. I said, hi, this is Maia, good Chime, your bank. I just wanted to chat about the outage we had on October. And kind of no one cared. Like, everyone answered the phone and they said, oh yeah. They said, you guys sent me an email about that, so I knew you went down. And I'm like, you didn't know we went down until you got the email? And they said, oh yeah. They were like, well, my card didn't work, and I thought that was funny, so I had to pay with cash out of my wallet, and then it was back. And it was just call and call again, where people were, and I was like, oh, I wanted to apologize. And they were like, look, you guys do so much for me. You've had my back. Like, this happens. We all make mistakes. Like, nice. We all trip. It's not that big a deal. And so there was a lot of haters going to hate. I mean, and I, speaking as a person on Twitter, right, I know that Twitter gets a lot of hate, but it really was not the response from our customers. What we learned a lot. I think our big learning is not to rely on, right, not to have single points of failure, which maybe should be obvious. But at the time, right, we're trying to stand up, we're trying to do something new, we're building something hard. It's even harder to build it twice. And so that's our real strategy for going forward, is not having single points of failure. So it's not so much any one system as making sure that every system has a backup system and has different options. And so it's part of the reason why today we work with 2 different banking partners. We have 2 different ATM networks. We have 2 different, right? It's like we're bringing up 2 of everything, so that if ever one thing doesn't goes down, we're not completely down, right? Because there were hours where Chime customers could not use their cards, and it's that's unacceptable. We know that our customer lives paycheck to paycheck, so we can't have that happen again. We might have lost Sam. Oh, we lost you. You're back.
The internet just sucks. I'm sorry. You think it'd be better across the world, but hey, that's what happens.
This I think is a real problem. People aren't talking about rural America has terrible internet coverage. And people in San Francisco are building all these like cool games and apps and Twitch, and it really relies on you having better internet coverage than Americans have.
Yeah, we have. I'm gonna go on my mini rant. I was in a bad mood yesterday. I'm always in a good mood when I'm on this show, but I was in a bad mood yesterday. Then got in a good mood when we did the show. But the infrastructure in the U.S. All right, for those of you that are not here, there's so much opportunity. There really is for us to improve this. It's and that's across the piece, right? The difference between large urban centers and folks that live in more rural states and everything else. It really is amazing to see the difference. And by the way, Jacksonville, Florida, oh my God, if I could get Google to come here and help me out, I'd be so happy. Like I said, I got to do this from my daughter's bedroom. All right, Maia, I want to ask you a couple questions about you, because I'm always fascinated when successful companies like Chime, you get back to hiring, right? And who the talent is. That's actually something I always tweet, right? Whenever I see a really good hire, I'm like, watch the hires, man. You want to know how a company's going? Watch the hires. So here's what I like about you. You're a serial entrepreneur, right? You went to Olin College. I say that right? Olin College?
Olin College of Engineering.
All right. Here's my favorite thing about Olin College of Engineering in Massachusetts. I do believe. I did my research right. You're on the board of trustees, right?
I am. It's very recent. My very first board of trustees meeting is actually tomorrow.
Okay. Just take this as somebody who's 53 years old. Are you 35 years old yet?
I am not 35 years old.
Okay. Are you the youngest board trustee member of a college I've ever seen in my life? I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way. Okay. Very proud of you. Well done. Damn. All right. So set goals, everybody. Don't know what to tell you. You started several companies. My favorite is Rockbox.
Yes, Rockbox.
Let me tell you why. Because right before this show, I said, "Hey, yeah, I've got Maia coming on. You know, she's at Chime," and my wife just gives me a blank look, and I'm like, "Yeah, she got out of college. She started this company called Rockbox." And she goes, "Oh my God, I love her," because my wife makes jewelry, custom made. We're going to talk after, right? So the concept of what you're able to do in the multiple companies you started, how does that help you out at Chime? I'm curious. Being a former founder, how does that help you at Chime?
Yeah, I think it really helps me at Chime. Well, so actually I don't know if it's my job description, but my like expectations for what my role is at Chime is that I take like big, hairy, like unknown problems and kind of get to the bottom of it and propose a solution and build a solution. Right. So it's like that is starting a company, and that is my job at Chime. So my job at Chime is not to like execute on some specific skill. It's not to make partnerships or do data analysis or build models or design things or anything like that. But my job involves a little bit of all those things, because it's taking like undefined problems and figuring out how to make sense of it, and then where there's an opportunity for us to make a difference.
So again, I did research, everybody. You know, this is what I do when I have insomnia and can't sleep. I watched a video of you, and you actually said this, so I'm going to ask you to expand on this. Maia said in an interview, "My entrepreneurial superpower is I'm amazing at hiring." Love that quote. Yeah. Expand, please.
It's true. Hiring is, well, and just what you're saying, Sam, it's like the people are the company, right? The people are everything. And so I've always really focused on hiring, and I'm very good at hiring. And so I can expand on that in a couple of different ways. So first, in sort of the evaluation or interview stage. So at my last company, Pinch, we didn't really do traditional interviews. We didn't do resumes. What we did, and it's particularly for hiring engineers. So we had them just send us, instead of applying or sending a resume, we had them send us something that they had built. And this could be in different forms, right? So it can be a web app, it can be an app, it can be a bunch of code, it can be a GitHub link or a portfolio, like it can be in different forms. So send us something they built. If we like it, then we would talk to them and we'd actually work together. So we'd do a short consulting project. We'd usually do about 8 hours of work, usually like an afternoon on 2 days. We also would be flexible because we're small and could do that. So if people were employed, we could do it nights and weekends. And we would actually work together. And then if we both liked working together, we would give them a job offer. And so I did that a bunch. I first started kind of prototyping that at Rockbox. It was the only way that we hired at Pinch. I think people like working for me. I gotta brag. People like working for me, and I think that it's like I believe in them. I'm not evaluating people off resumes. I'm evaluating them off of their resourcefulness, and other categories that I think are really important for early stage hiring. And I think that people see that and they respond to that really positively. And so I've been able to get really incredible employees, kind of like the diamond in the rough. And the other thing is that I'd be flexible with hiring, right? So I know like at Pinch we had one engineer who didn't want to work on Tuesdays. He said, I have to go see the matinee show at the movie theater on Tuesdays and I don't
Okay.
want to work.
Trying to figure out Taco Tuesday or something. Couldn't figure out why Tuesday.
I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I just said, okay, don't work on Tuesdays, and we could provide, as a startup, we could provide that type of flexibility that he could never get at Facebook or Google. Like Facebook, they're not going to let him not work on Tuesdays, right? But we could only afford to pay him half of the salary that he would get at Facebook or Google. But because we could give him the flexibility that he wanted, he worked with us instead of for them.
So I'm gonna get this last question in for you because we're running out. The clock's starting to run out on this. This is from a good friend of mine, Corey LeBlanc, in Origin Bank in Ruston, Louisiana. Taking the knowledge of increasing unemployment rates, we talked about that early on, right? 33 million now, it's the official number. And as you stated, your prime customer being the paycheck to paycheck demographic, the potential for new Chime customers is huge. However, with the lack of funds available to balance the money in, money out, now even more difficult for people to move banks. What is Chime doing today to help reduce the cost of switching for customers? And switching banks is a massive issue, period. I don't care if it's in the US or the UK or Europe. It is. That's tough.
Well, and probably hardest in the US. I think the
Agree.
UK has, a couple of, you can just switch your current account over between different sources. So yeah, it's massively difficult. I think it's part of the reason why we see the retention that we do, right? It sucks to change your bank over. We are actually, so it's very unusual for the US, but our government has really stepped in to help on this one angle. They're like not really leading a good response to coronavirus in general, but this one economic angle, they've really stepped up. And so unemployment is great. They've expanded who's eligible. They also offer more money. So there's an extra $600 a week during this time of coronavirus. That's in addition to however much the states normally pay, which is normally a percentage of the lost income. So what our focus is that, so normally it's annoying to switch banks because you have to switch your payroll over from one bank to a new bank and it sucks. Right. Given that basically our customer base is doing that, they already are routing in account numbers on their state unemployment websites. We're just helping them make that switch over to Chime, or for our existing customer base, right? Like to continue getting their direct deposit into Chime. So we've done a huge project on helping make that as easy as possible. The states are not making it so easy to file for unemployment. And so we're trying to create like all the like content and research and assistance. We are calling up states. We're trying to get better support and working there. And Chime does, so you get your unemployment check early if you bank with Chime as well. So it's not just paychecks that come early, but it's also unemployment checks. So yeah, some of the stuff we're doing there.
Yeah, I'll make one last comment just because I can do a dig and then I'll let it go. But in the unemployment system in Florida has gotten a lot of attention because it's an absolute piece of shit, to be blunt. The system was built in 2011 for $77 million by Deloitte. Not knocking Deloitte, but hey, if I can get a dig in, I'm going to do it. And it's just absolute garbage, right? Which is too bad. They have done, I will say, they've put a lot of work into it over the past 3 weeks and have made massive improvements, thank God, because it's needed. And with that, folks, believe it or not, we're out of time. It's amazing how quickly this goes by. So Maia, everybody, you got to follow her on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle again?
It's at Maia B.
Okay, it's a fun. She'll complain a lot about cooking, to be honest.
Well, that's only the last couple of weeks, but it's mostly complaints about cooking these days. Yeah. Yeah,
really has been. This needs to end because you got to move on, Maia. I'm just telling you.
I know.
What about Chime? What's the best place to learn more about Chime?
Best place to learn more about Chime is on our website, which is chime.com. But also, as you mentioned, we are a great Instagram follow. So Instagram.com/Chime. Excellent.
I don't follow you on Instagram. I'm going to start doing that. That sounds
Right.
good. All right, everybody, that's it. Tomorrow's a bank holiday in the UK. I plan on walking my dogs at the beach here in Florida. So we're going to take a bit of a break, but we'll be back Monday with Chuck Fagan. Chuck's a good friend. He's the president of PSCU. We'll be talking about credit unions and services that they have. And we'll also announce our winner of the best question of the week. Again, if you have someone who would be perfect to be on the show, don't hesitate to reach out. Get me at Sam Mall on Twitter or at podcast@11fs.com. Have a great day, and we'll see everybody on Monday morning. Thanks.